About 3 years ago, I got the opportunity to fire myself as CEO of the
Oh,
organisation.
very good. Made yourself redundant.
Yeah, I
did
made
you?
myself redundant.
Excellent job.
I'm not great at scoring goals, so why would I put myself into that position to harm the rest of the team if I'm not the best person to score goals? There's companies that are not going to be able to adopt and to change, and they will not be there.
I think there was a statement up, but I didn't take a photograph of it. It was about retaining human privacy from AI.
They've got to the stage now where AI can actually do it itself. It doesn't need that human interaction. Hold on a minute. We can't just let it loose on and just doing its own thing. They've got it to a stage now where it can easily become uncontrollable. MSPs have come from break fix to MSPs. Now there's another pivot to go to a different level. You will never be a resilient business or a successful business if your clients are not resilient and are not successful.
Hi, it's Austen Clark here. We're at Salt Lake City in the glorious sunshine, it appears now, so that's a bit of fun. So we're going to have an interview today with a very dear friend of mine, Gerard Cox. Gerard, thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Austen.
Tell me, what's the name of your company and just a little bit of potted history of where you've come from and how did you get here? And this is the second time you've been to Beyond, so tell me a little bit about it.
My business is Intuity Technologies. It's based in Galway in the west coast of Ireland, and it's a managed service provider. Our heritage comes from a family business. My dad would have set it up 54 years ago. We got involved with software development in the early 80s, and in the 2000s we acquired the business off my mother. She owned the business after my father had passed away, and myself and two brothers actually bought the business off my mum, and we started to further develop software. A couple of years after that, we went and we acquired two other technology companies, which weren't really, they were kind of break-fix companies, but they became an MSP business, and we overlaid that with our own business and have continued to grow it since then.
So what's the size of the company now?
So we've about 53 full-time employees at the moment, and we've about, I think it's 9 or maybe 10 contractors that are offshore. So about 60 odd people in the organisation.
So you didn't start from a traditional MSP organisation. You came into it as part of a development as the business grew.
So we would have been classified as a software development house. We would have developed our own software, architecture, the app, the code base, the databases, all of that. We would have developed that. So that's where we started. The reason we got involved with technology was for us to sell our software, we needed to be able to put the infrastructure in place to operate the systems. When there was a difference between the software vendor and the technology, there was always a divide between, well, whose responsibility is it for the service? So we decided, well, we need to acquire technology providers, MSPs, to be able to deliver that service to our clients. So that was a one-stop shop between software applications as well as the technology and the infrastructure required to run and operate their business.
So why are you here in Salt Lake City? Why did you come to Pax8 Beyond? What are you looking for? What's the thing that's driving you to come to these events?
So my role in the organisation, about 3 years ago, I got the opportunity to fire myself as CEO of the organisation.
Oh, very good. Made yourself redundant.
Yeah, I made myself redundant.
Excellent job.
And then I got the opportunity to create a brand new role, which was a chairman role. And so my CEO is very much operationally focused on running and operating the business as best as we possibly can for our teams and our customers. That allowed me to create the role of strategic, so a chairman role, strategic focus, visionary, looking at where the business and the marketplace is going to go next, and working with the CEO and the senior leadership team on making decisions about where we want to go. 2 years ago, last year, I went to Denver following a recommendation from Peter that we really need to look at this type of an event if you want to kind of get a different view. Sometimes when you stick in Ireland, you get a view from Ireland. Sometimes you have to go outside to get a different view. And in Denver, I was blown away by the strategic chatter and conversations that was being had about where that business is going. I was very comfortable in Denver because I felt like the marketplace and the conversations were leading more into what my background had been and where my comfort was.
And it's back into the software side.
It comes back into the software. It comes back into, when people talk about AI and stuff, that's where it's coming back into, is intelligence, data, information.
This is back into the place where you felt very comfortable.
That's where that's where we grew up.
I want to just go back to something you said a few minutes ago around firing yourself. I think a lot of MSP owners really struggle, founders really struggle stepping away from the business. Can you tell us a little bit about how you developed that leadership team to let you fire yourself?
It was a constant evolution, and I would have had certain times where I felt that the business was being harmed because of some of the skills that I didn't possess when it came to that leadership of the business. And then there were other people on the leadership team that identified that they were stronger in those suits. And there was a moment where you have to reflect and you say, well, I'm not the best person. It's like in a team format. I'm not great at scoring goals, so why would I put myself into that position to harm the rest of the team if I'm not the best person to score goals? You put the best person that can score goals into that position.
We heard a lot yesterday about mindset, about MSPs having to go through a mindset shift, and obviously just sticking with the bit of getting out of the operational day-to-day to give yourself space to think. And we just heard John Street talk about that. He's retired from Pax8, but what that's done is given him time to think about what's next. So, like, when you look at it, what advice would you give to maybe some MSP owners that feel trapped within their MSPs, that want to take the steps towards, having that a little bit of thought freedom?
Yeah, it's a good point. I listened to John. Everything that John said resonated with me, because I think I'm quite similar in relation to having that time and space to be able to think and to do that. So over the years I would have spent a lot of time outside of the business, whether it is retreats where you go away for a couple of days to actually think about how the business runs and operates. I've got a cohort group that I meet every 2 months where I can sit down and discuss really personal and deep challenges in the business. So therefore you get time to think about that. That kind of led me towards the decision to shift myself out of that role. It's been successful. I have to admit, the CEO that we appointed into the role has achieved, he's over 3 years there. He missed 1 month of his target, which was my target, because it was in the first 12 months. But he's hit his numbers every month since. Mike Knight, great guy, really embedded in the business, really driven by the success of the business, and great find. He was a great attribute he's a great asset for the business, but he's allowed me then the freedom to go and do what I'm best at doing.
I've got to know you quite a bit over the last couple of years, and I love your approach. You have a thirst for knowledge. You have a thirst to go meet people. I often get a text from you saying, "Are you around tomorrow for a cup of coffee?" And you'd be up from Galway across to Dublin, but this is something that you've embedded in your life now. You're always meeting people. But I suppose when you talk to the wider business community, what concerns are you hearing about the adoption of AI or the revolution of AI on other businesses? Because I also am aware that you've invested and you operate other businesses completely outside of the MSP world.
We do. We have other businesses. If I have any concerns about where this is going, is we would have got involved with ISO way back in 2009 or 10. So ISO 27001, and that's a very clear framework on data security. And I believe that any adoption within a business enterprise, you need to have guardrails and systems in place to protect that you just can't go off willy-nilly, throwing in agents and to try and deal with the here and now, and it's not aligned to a strategic direction for the organization. I think it has to be all mapped in together. So what I would suggest is take a step back, see where do you want to bring it to, ensure you've got the infrastructure in place to take care of that. A lot of businesses, we've acquired a number of businesses, and you can see the value in the businesses by the data and the quality of the data and the actual type of data that they have in their businesses, and that sometimes people don't realize that's the value that you have, both historic but also the clear live data for how the business runs and operates. It's key information.
I was very lucky to have a dinner with you last night, and there's a lot of trepidation around AI. There's a lot of people nervous about AI. There's a lot of people wondering about what's their business going to look like in the future. But you see AI as a huge opportunity, something that doesn't come along very often. Tell us a little bit about why you share so much optimism for AI.
Yeah, I do. I see it as a differentiator. I see there's companies that are not going to be able to adopt and to change, and they will not be there. We're seeing it already, right? But I see the people, and you keep using that word, lean in. I see people just experiment, give it a chance, try different things. So you do need to lean in and say, actually, yeah, let's have that fresh mindset. So as you'll see from the grey hairs, I'm older, right? And but yet I'm younger at heart. I see opportunity in any change in the business. There's an opportunity there. You twist it and you say, actually, yeah, that's an opportunity there. There are risks, without a shadow of a doubt. There are risks. John mentioned it there, or was it one of the presenters mentioned it there about being the lead, the human being in charge of where that AI adoption comes. And I think that's one of the things that we need to keep in track of.
Human-centric, but the human at the core, steering the way. And the privacy, I think there was a statement up, and I didn't take a photograph of it. It was about retaining human privacy from AI.
I think it was John that said it.
Yeah,
and Ren with that thing. And that's exactly, that to me is one of the challenges. And I know there's a lot of conversation out there with Sam Altman and this and that whole debate, Elon Musk and stuff, about they've got to the stage now where AI can actually do it itself. It doesn't need that human interaction, and it's about having those guardrails around that says, actually, hold on a minute, we can't just let it loose on and just doing its own thing.
It's clear there's quite a lot of work now being done on recognising that the guardrails have to be put on. You have to put some kind of wheels, training wheels on to do that. It's the first time I'd actually heard somebody of his stature actually do it. Do you think we're hearing that from other parts? Have you heard that from? Do we hear it from Elon Musk or from?
That is the debate that they're having around whether they go IPO. Where do they bring AI to next? Because they've got it to a stage now where it can easily become uncontrollable, and that is the debate that's been had with the various different leaders of AI deployment and the language models that they're developing.
Yeah. Something that I'd be very interested in is when you look at a business to acquire, what do you look for in that business in terms of the strengths? Like, what makes it something that's attractive that you say, yeah, I want to go on a journey for the next 5 or 10 years?
So this would be in the MSP space,
no,
or in
any business. And that's why it's quite interesting. So just forgetting MSP across the other businesses that you might be involved in. What's the elements that you look out for in the opportunity in those businesses that you think that Gerard Cox can bring something different to these businesses?
If I look at business, I look at them about when I mentioned data already. If businesses have clear data, monthly accounts that you can see that it's ran in a very efficient way. What you're not looking at then is, well, we can improve this business. If it's been run so well, we're not necessarily going to improve this business. But then what you do is you take a step back and say, well, what's the industry it's in? What's the market it's in? What are its customers? Maybe there are key customers that you can see that you can provide other service to. When you've mentioned the other business we have a recruitment company and we have a training company. So there are services that each one of my MSP clients also consume. So there are multiple different services that if you can go in and you've got a strong relationship with a client and you can offer them other services that are adjacent to what they're already providing for you, you can offer them at the same service, you can grow revenues, you can cross-pollinate customer revenue streams. Now, they're quite diverse, right? They're not all technology, they're definitely not technology plays, but that's when I look at businesses and companies, that's what I look at. I say, well, where would that fit in our whole ecosystem? And be very deliberate. Yeah, that actually fits or it doesn't fit. And then you have a different decision to make whether you want to get involved with it or not.
I'm in my head. I'm hearing the word resilience, because it's a time of rapid change, and I'm already interested in what makes businesses, the best businesses, resilient in times of rapid change. And just the point around, you have a training business and a recruitment business. They're probably two elements that really do strengthen, because I think a huge issue with this AI adoption phase is, and we talked about it, this pace at which it's going at. Most people, we're in a bit of a bubble here, right? We know what's happening, we can see what's coming down the road, but the average worker who's just trying to get their 9 to 5 done is wondering, what is this AI? How do I use it? How do I adopt it? And I think training has been massively overlooked by our industry. So it's quite interesting. But what makes businesses resilient, do you think, in times of rapid change?
So just on that first point though, is about the training aspect. The tagline that we have in our training company and our recruitment company is, we change lives. And part of that is around, if you can A, get a job to a specific area, or B, you can get retrained to get that specific job. And when I listened to the presentations earlier on, I was delighted to see that that whole human element, the retraining, the identifying, the employing the people that have certain skills into specific areas. I see that as being one of the big challenges that MSPs that want to adopt that. That's going to be one of their biggest challenges, is to do that. So I see straight away, there's opportunity here. We can if we can embrace that. Not only can we find the people for it, but we can train the people, and then we can place them into the roles that they need to have. When you talk about, Peter, when you talk about resilience, to me resilience is about having systems and processes in place that you can identify, because there's bumps in the road, always bumps in the road. And what you want to try and do is you want to try and identify them and have a plan for if anything actually comes up. And building resilience isn't just in relation to a revenue stream. It's a customer base. It's a marketplace. It's right across your organization. It's like, to me, it's like a hygiene discipline. Building that resilience within the organization, right from every person in the organization can create systems that creates that resilience for the wider business.
And what do you think MSPs can really learn from, their clients, other businesses, other industries outside of the MSP world? Because I think that's something, certainly for me, when I started going to clients' conferences, their industry conferences, I learned so much. Like, I learned so much from this industry, but then learning about my client's industry was it was transformational for me.
Yeah. I'm a curious guy. I love asking questions. And
I know.
We both know. We do.
So when I would meet a client, or if I meet somebody, I'll keep asking questions, and and they're always to try and learn. The best conversation that I always seem to have is when I can walk away, they've learned something and I've learned something about whether it's a challenge or whether it's an opportunity within the businesses. So when you go to your client and you can have those conversations, frank and honest conversations, built on trust, that they know that you're not going to use that against them to try and sell them something. And if you're genuinely interested for the betterment of their business, well then my view is they will be open and they'll be frank with you. And then you can support and assist them in trying to resolve any challenges they have.
Do you think that I call that partnership, and something that I found in my business on as well, is going the hard yards with your clients? Do you think that's kind of missing in a lot of businesses now, particularly younger, more modern businesses? Do you think it's become more formulaic, that someone's given them a model and they go and push the model rather than actually sitting down and just listening to clients? I have a client who says to me, when they transport the food in the summer, the chocolate melts on top of the product, whereas in the winter they can transport it and it doesn't. And that, it's those small little things that actually add quite a little quite a big difference to their logistics costs and has to be reflected elsewhere in the business. And if they weren't aware of that information, or those small things, then it would have an impact on their margins and everything else, the success of the business. But so a little bit about that,
yeah. So that was mentioned earlier on by Craig. And he mentioned about creating that moat, and where you create that moat is your understanding of your client base, and then you build that trust with your client base to create that moat. But the moat won't always stay there, because somebody else can get in there, so you need to work on that to deliver for your client. And we worked in a vertical market, right, which was credit unions. So it was financial services, savings and loans. But it was a unique one because they used different terminology for things that in a bank it was a different word, in credit unions it was different. But it was community-led, and it was all about the community and community lending. And from that, you get intrinsically deep with them, with your client, when you're involved in that industry. We have it with multiple different industries that we have customer bases in. And it's about understanding the challenges that's specific, whether it's medtech. We have a large medtech community in Galway. It's about understanding what their growing pains are, because they're regulated. We've always found that in regulated markets, we excel because we systemize processes, we put systems in place, and that allows us then to deliver services to our clients to their betterment as well. We implement our systems and our controls in their organizations as well.
So we were speaking about yesterday about client zero.
Yeah.
So at times you are client zero because you're eating your own dog food. You're actually putting systems in place so then it makes you more effective when you're meeting your clients.
I couldn't agree more. And that, to me, probably started 2009, 2010, when we made that that decision to go for ISO, and that decision, because we kind of grew up. We bought the business off my mum in 2004, so we're 6 years in, we've already done an acquisition, and then we said, hold on a minute, we're never going to scale this business unless we put systems and processes in place. Now, it was hard to do that. It was a hard yards. But every couple of years when we get recertified, we've never lost our designation. If anything, we've got stronger at it. Every board meeting has a topic on it, an agenda item, which is our ISO and our procedures. So it is right throughout the whole organisation that you've put them systems in place.
Hard in.
100%. Yeah. And it is part of what we do. Anyone would know, giving me a mobile device and allowing me out into the wild world with a mobile device with access to the network, you have to control my access too. And they've successfully managed where I haven't actually brought any bad actors into our organisation, which is...
Well done.
Yeah. I'm very proud of that.
Good job.
I'm very proud of it.
Jerry, I know you have to run for a flight to get back to the Emerald Isle. If we sit here in 2030, how do you think this community, the MSP world, the businesses, even as a whole, will have changed because of AI?
I think they'll be in a much stronger position. I think there's great opportunities. I would have mentioned to you guys, I feel clients are looking for that level of technology leadership from their trusted partners. They will get it. You decide whether you want to be that trusted partner and to deliver that. It can't always be about their stack or their estate. It has to go much further and deeper than that. But the reward for that, the reward for having that relationship with the owners and the leaders and the companies that you're dealing with, that's a richer relationship to have. And it's stickier. And it's more rewarding for yourself and your team. So I do see there's great opportunities for it. I don't believe because MSPs have come from break fix to MSPs. Now there's another pivot to go to a different level. Value what they can deliver to the client relationship. I think some people will struggle with that next jump.
Yeah.
But I think there's strategic things they can do to try and alleviate that, like their next hire. Like we had a conversation, what does the next CTO of an MSP look like? What kind of a skill set do they have? Are they the guy that does servers and networks, or is it going to be a data person? So it's about asking those questions. Do we need to be looking at the type of people that are within our organization that can give us that leap?
I did actually have a question that I didn't ask. I have actually quite a number of questions, but I'm conscious of time. Do you think the MSPs will be more business, the staff will be more business orientated or more technical orientated, in 3 or 4 or 5 years?
That's exactly what will happen. So the type of people you will have will be more like business analysts and consultants, people that will get to understand the deep changes within an organization. So the flow of information through your customer base, the flow of information through their business, and that's where the skill will be required if you want to start implementing change in their organization. That's what you'll need to understand, how they run and operate that.
So if you were in your early 20s, and I get asked this question quite a lot, what would you be focused on right now in terms of education, in terms of to put you into a place that in your career you're going to fit into the next generation of what our industry is going to look like?
I say I'm kind of different. I would say I can't consume enough about business and how strategic stuff and business change. I read business books and I see examples of where companies have failed, and I've seen examples of where companies are successful. But having a clear, because a couple of my kids, right, one of them is an accountant and one of them is a solicitor. They're both from myself and my wife, and they think completely different because the way they've been trained within college. And I think it's brilliant when I have conversations with them. The types of conversation you have with them, you say, "Oh, I never thought about it that way," and so they're helping me in reframing things myself. But I do believe people have to be, and in technology we have to be curious. We have to understand how companies measure success for themselves and how they become sustainable. You will never be a resilient business or a successful business if your clients are not resilient and are not successful. You have to build it based upon their success for your own success.
Jerry, thank you. Amazing to hear the curiosity and the resilience in the passion. Absolutely. Jerry, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you,
That's
Peter.
us going to sign off now. If you like what you're seeing here today, I'm going to ask you, please subscribe, leave a comment, hit the like button. It adds to the conversation, and we get to these fantastic guests like Jerry to come and join us here. That's us. We're signing off from another episode here at Salt Lake City at Pax8. Thank you.